I went to my cousin's birthday party, and everything was going great. We were having so much fun until around 10 p.m. That's when I told my cousin that I was going to leave, but he didn't want me to go. He wanted me to spend the night at his house. But my mom had already told me not to sleep over, and I didn't want to disobey her. I also didn't want to hurt my cousin's feelings. So, I came up with a plan that would make everyone happy. I told my cousin that I wouldn't stay the night, but I would hang out a little longer. He was okay with that and probably thought I might change my mind and stay. Around 1 a.m., I decided it was time to go home. I told my cousin again, but this time, he tried hard to convince me to stay. He reminded me about how dangerous it was to walk around at night. He was right, but I couldn't go against my mom's wishes. I promised him I would be safe and left. As I walked home, everything was quiet. Too quiet. The streets were empty, and the only sound I could hear was the tapping of my own footsteps. Soon, I reached a place called Ogenebo. Ogenebo is a community pond, and people always said it was haunted. They say a man who couldn't pay back a bank loan jumped into the pond and drowned. No one knew what happened to him until 5 days later when his body floated to the surface. After that, people started saying his spirit roamed around Ogenebo at night. The thought of that scared me. And I felt a chill run down my spine. Just then, I heard something that made my heart race, a second pair of footsteps behind me. I was too scared to look back. Instead, I started walking faster, hoping it was just my imagination. But the footsteps behind me got faster too. That's when I knew I had to run for my life. I kicked off my slippers and sprinted like never before. Whoever or whatever was behind me also started running. I ran so fast that I felt like I was flying. I prayed that when I got home, my mom would still be awake and open the door quickly. When I finally reached my house, I was relieved to see that the door wasn't even locked. My mom had left it open because she knew I'd come back. I rushed inside, slammed the door shut, and locked it. My mom was still awake and asked me what had been chasing me. But I was too tired to explain and just said we'd talk in the morning before heading straight to bed. The next morning, my mom woke me up and said, "Someone wants to see you." I was curious, so I followed her outside. When we got out, I couldn't believe my eyes. There stood a madman, holding my slippers. He handed them to me and said, "Last night, I was scared. That's why I was following you. Then you suddenly kicked off your slippers and started running." I was stunned and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But one thing was for sure, I would never forget that night.